Hello, my little IBM 7090s. This is Movies, Music, and Moods. I'm Noey, and this is a podcast journal for me to talk about what I think is magic and mystifying and memeable about the movies I watch and the music that I listen to. So let's get started. The music this week is an album by a collaborative group called You Tell Me, and the album is self-titled. It's called You Tell Me. It came out in 2019. And the movie is Hidden Figures from 2016. So let's talk. The album You Tell Me is a collaborative effort by Peter Brewis from Field Music and Sarah Hayes from Admiral Fallow. I had no idea who those groups were. I didn't know who those people were. I had never heard of those bands. This was recommended to me, I think, through Spotify a few years ago. Who's counting? I have no idea. But I really loved this album during the pandemic. As an album, it really is like the feeling of a cold, bright fall morning. I would also compare it to walking through an oil painting of a garden of flowers. Congratulations in advance for both of them, because those are beautiful things for an album to be compared to. I think one should only be so lucky, right? If I had had this podcast, then I absolutely would have talked about it. So Peter Brewis and Sarah Hayes actually met at a Kate Bush celebration concert. This is a British group. We don't really get Kate Bush celebrations out here, at least not in the Midwest. I bet they get them in the Pacific Northwest, but that's another subject. According to the lore in their band camp, Sarah Hayes did a rendition of This Woman's Work. Man, I wonder if she can hit those Kate Bush notes, because if so, I'm jealous, but it's okay. I'm not a musician. And You Tell Me is honestly one of my favorite albums of my 30s. I have a ways to go, yet. But I'm thinking I need to make a list. We need to make a list here, okay? We need to figure this out. We need to get this nailed down. The unfortunate thing about me talking about this album for this episode is that I can't find the lyrics online. And I need to read the lyrics and listen to the songs over and over again to get an idea of the themes we're dealing with. So I kind of just had to guess at some of them. And that's not that either of them aren't pronouncing their English well. I'm just distracted by the music. I don't know. So sue me. And it's 2024. They could never make another album together. You can barely find it when you Google it. And I just want to say, please make another album. For me. Do it for me. The album is this really cool mix of digital and analog instruments, from buzzing sounds to clapping. There are a lot of analog clapping and slapping, I'll say it, going on in these songs that adds so much texture, so I really can't wait to get into it. So what did I find magic? There are a lot of songs in the magic category this time around. First is the first track. Listen, the first track is usually really good. They're trying to hook you. But it is enough to notice. This song is absolutely sparkling. There's this quick piano, soaring vocals. Sarah Hayes' voice gets to be out front, and her voice has this fresh tone. This song has a really exciting organ and guitar build-up around 2 minutes that makes me, I'll say it, excited for music. And Peter Brewis' vocals here take a back seat, but again, they add a texture. He has a wonderful voice, and he does have some songs where he's singing mostly on the tracks. Their voices just fit so well together. I'm telling you, this project just worked really well. The next song, Get Out of the Room, is one of my absolute favorites. I like to think of it in my head, because I like to make up little stories and correlations between songs, but I think of it as a sister song to Get Out of My House by Kate Bush. I know they're Kate Bush fans. They were at a celebration concert, so I think it's likely that they were inspired by it. But this one has those layers of clapping. You even hear snapping. I'm sorry that I have to keep rhyming. It has this dark tone, almost like you're hearing a voice from across the way in a dark room. And the song really is an argument. They mention changing places, reminding me of Running Up That Hill. I'm sorry, but if you're going to mention Kate Bush, I'm going to think about Kate Bush, always. Next magic song, Foreign Parts. Obviously, the title Foreign Parts makes you think of an auto shop, like a car repair shop. But the song sounds like it's about maybe watching a movie. There's a mention of special effects. Maybe it's a metaphor. I love the strings in this one, the synth. Again, those analog elements, like, I'm going to say slapping. Damn it. Clapping, snapping, or slapping. There's probably a much better way to describe that. Feel free to let me know on Instagram. Feel free to bully me on Instagram. No, feel free to educate me. But Foreign Parts is really dramatic. It's definitely one of my favorites. There's kind of an old movie score thing going on here. And next up in the magic category, Clarion Call. This song is stunning. There are these swirly vocals, and the voices kind of swell throughout the song. There's a lyric that I can't figure out. Less than a month to go to grow a rhino's heart. I might be making up the rhino thing altogether, but it adds a layer of mystery for me that I'm always going to try to figure out. Peter or Sarah, could you please send me the lyrics to this album? I'm dying. But anyway, I think about those lyrics a lot. A clarion call is a call to action. So I'm thinking, okay, is this about a political campaign? Is this about someone asking for help in their old age? You know, there's the line, I can barely look after myself. It's really beautiful. It's just touching, and you're not bored throughout this song. I've listened to this one so many times. I love the line, if not now, when? The next magic song is Joszka. I think that's a Polish word. But that's like a conversation that you play out in your head. I think that definitely makes sense for this track. I think the line is 3 silent dots like vitamins on my tongue. You know, 3 silent dots. Definitely making me think of May December when Charles Melton is having the conversation with like the unnamed person about seeing the eggs on the leaf and saying that it reminded him of the plant or like the bug wanting to have a conversation with him. I'm rambling. But this song honestly gives me goosebumps. This one features the strings again, which are featured throughout the entire album, and piano, and Sarah's beautiful voice. It makes me want to walk through a garden in the rain. Absolutely. That's what it makes me want to do. And it's episode 10, so I did want to point out the mention of 10 in this song. It's taken me 10 years to know what you did then. I just love Sarah's lilting vocals in this one. So that's Joszka. The final song that I would consider magic on this album is Starting Point. And this is a really sweet mood piece. The strings along with Peter's voice really move it along, and it's very measured. It really makes me think of Colin Blunstone's solo album from 1971, which is called 1 Year, particularly Misty Roses and Her Song. And a lot of it, the strings are heavily featured in that album. So what did I find mystifying? And when I say mystifying in relation to an album, it usually means I either hate it or it just didn't work. It doesn't mean I think it's a bad song or that, you know, you're a bad person for liking it or you have a bad taste. I've been through this. It just means that it didn't work for me, okay? But sometimes it does mean that I hate it, and you will hear me say I hate songs. The first mystifying track for me is No Hurry. I've expressed before I have trouble with really slow songs. Unless there's some kind of path I could follow, sometimes I just get bored. And this one really has only a few reasons to keep me listening. The chorus where she sings, I don't ask for you, something about it just seems clunky in the song. Like it throws the whole rhythm off for me. Next is Spring Burn, which I think is pretty, but again, the chorus bugs me. The lyrics are really gentle. They mention a message to someone in the hospital, so this is either a sad or like a bittersweet song. I'll always listen when I'm doing a listen of the album, but something about the chorus, it's just not my favorite. But tonally, it fits the album. I would say No Hurry and Spring Burn, which are the only mystifying tracks that I identified for this one. They work perfectly in the context of the album. So what did I find memeable? Or I should say iconic. I would say the final track, Kabuki. The use of, and whether these are real, you know, or synthesized, but like breathing sounds, almost like a steam train. It's excellent. And I love the line, "I've missed out on such a lot." I mean, getting into this album during the pandemic, I feel that, definitely. And that's the last line. The song mentions kabuki drop, so you have to wonder, a kabuki drop is like a reveal. It's showing something that was hidden. And that fits the theme of what I've kind of identified the album. Hidden meanings, hidden information or messages maybe unraveled later on. Change is a big theme I've noticed in the album. And kabuki has something that sounds like maybe a rain stick, like a splash of water. It's really powerful, and like I said, it creates so much texture in this one. So what song gets the award for most likely to get stuck in your head? That's going to be Water Cooler. I think that might have been the first song I heard from You Tell Me. From what I can gather, it kind of sounds like the character is luring the listener to the water cooler to discuss, I don't know, corporate negging. They like punishment, performance reviews. Again, maybe this is a metaphor for something. I don't know what the metaphor is, but I love it. It's crisp and cool, just like that jug of water. And the final award, most likely to be the song You Solve a Mystery to, Invisible Ink. The build-up in this song is so satisfying. I love the line, held in the light just so secrets are shown. The song has this really urgent mood, which is funny. I was just listening to Acid Queen from The Who's Tommy today, and I read about the song creating this urgent mood. This one is for a different reason. This is more, you're in your study. There's lots of dark wood panels. There's a fern in the corner, and you're solving the mystery of who killed Aunt Pepper. Obviously, because she found something out about her murderer, and they didn't want her to change her will. Anyway, this is a song you solve a mystery to. It sounds like I'm hearing a steel guitar and maracas. The harmonies just work so well together. Why isn't everyone talking about this? The last minute of the song, you can hear these glittering chimes come in. It's triumphant. I urge you. This is a clarion call to listen to this album if you haven't already. Let's move on to the movie. The movie is Hidden Figures, which came out in 2016. So the movie for this episode follows what I'm personally referring to as OCTAVIA SPENCER-UARY. I felt it was appropriate for February, which is Black History Month, to check out a few more Octavia Spencer movies because she is delightful. I love watching her, and I love to support her. I recently watched The Help, which I found really entertaining, but sorely lacking in a proper focused plot. I really felt like there was just too much focus placed on the white women and not the actual subject of the movie, which was the racism that the Black women maids faced. And of course, a lot of people consider that movie to have the white savior trope. I was hoping because Hidden Figures came out about 5 years after, and maybe they had faced some of that criticism already, that it wouldn't be such a tale of a white savior, but it's heavily featured in this movie. And you'll see. We'll get into it a little bit. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Hidden Figures features Taraji P. Henson, Octavia Spencer, Janelle Monáe, Kevin Costner, and Kirsten Dunst, and also Jim Parsons from Big Bang Theory and Glenn Powell from Top Gun Maverick, who I spent a really long time trying to identify. He plays John Glenn. I had no idea if John Glenn spoke like that or if he had mannerisms like that. I'm not sure. And John Glenn actually passed away right before the movie came out, so really interesting timing there. So Hidden Figures is based on a book, and what really stuck out to me first watching the movie was that for some stupid reason, I thought it was about the moon landing. Hidden Figures is not about the moon landing. Hidden Figures is about launching an astronaut into orbit, and we did have some predictions for this movie. Mine was that I thought that JFK's assassination would be featured, like in Mad Men, like in The Help, and I thought there would be a lot of period music. And obviously, I figured we'd be touching on the space race and the Soviet Union, etc. As an American, I think it's interesting that the space race seems like such a part of our history that it's written in stone. It's hard to imagine a time before it happened when we were unsure of whether we could accomplish it. It wasn't a fact yet. So what did I think was magic about Hidden Figures? First and foremost, the movie pretty much immediately got to the point. You see all three of the main characters trying to figure out how to get the car running so they can get to NASA. Also, I want to know how many Black women currently work at NASA. NASA? Can you please let me know? I can Google it. Magic. Taraji P. Henson pushing her glasses up like she's a nerd. Love it. Her makeup always looked incredible in the movie. She had this beautiful matte berry lip. And also, personally, I spent a long time trying to identify the name of Kevin Costner's haircut. Is it a crew cut? Is it a Hank Hill? I did think this was, at first, a fun role for Jim Parsons, and then I was bored with it. Whatever. You know, he's like misogynistic, racist obstacle who ends up being less misogynistic and racist at the end. Okay. I loved getting to see the mid-century suburban homes. I loved the chenille blankets in the girls' rooms, in Taraji P. Henson's daughter's rooms. The scene in the library, which was stressful, and I'm sure a very real lived experience from people a million times over, especially back then. But I loved Octavia Spencer's pink coat. I just want to talk about it. And personally, I think it was a privilege of mine to not realize that things like the library were segregated. They were basically telling you, no, you don't have access to the same opportunities and knowledge that we do. Like, duh, everything would have been segregated. And I'm not going to say that I didn't learn that in school because I don't remember little details like that. I remember Amerigo Vespucci, period. I thought that Glenn Powell as John Glenn, oh my God, Glenn. I thought that he was really charming. I know I already said I have no idea what John Glenn was like, but he, they did a good job of at least making him feel like they had an ally. Granted, allies always seep right into white savior status, but we'll pause there for a minute. I did like that Taraji P. Henson's character had to keep going to the bathroom when she was upset. For a moment, I thought, do we have an IBS girly on our hands? It's probably just a nervous pee. And the plot that I thought was the absolute most magic of the movie was Octavia Spencer covertly figuring out how to use the computers and then teaching all the other computing women how to use the computers and then getting a real job doing that. I want a movie just on that. And I felt the same way about her character in The Help. That was its whole own movie. I know I already mentioned The Help had a lot of plots, but I want to see that. Let's make that a movie. That probably exists already if everyone's like yelling at the podcast right now. Okay, I'll look it up. I promise you. So what did I think was mystifying? I did think a few things were mystifying about this one. My music prediction was wrong. I don't think I finished that thought. Okay, so my music prediction was that I thought there'd be a lot of music from the time period, and there definitely was some, but this movie had its own special soundtrack. In fact, it has its own Wikipedia article. So Pharrell was the co-producer of the film soundtrack, and the song I See Victory won Best Song at the African American Film Critics Association Awards, and it also won, the same song, it won Outstanding Song at the NAACP Image Awards. Some of the other artists on the soundtrack are Mary J. Blige, Alicia Keys, Lala Hathaway, and Janelle Monáe. And am I kind of in love with Janelle Monáe pretty much in everything I see her in? Yeah. So the original songs for the movie definitely have a more modern feel, mystifying, or a little funny. When you Google Octavia Spencer family, I already said that I'm Bob Hoskins for Mermaids and I like to know everything about people. You get pics of her and Kevin Costner. And I kind of like to imagine that is her family. Pretty early in the movie, I felt it was directed boringly. It was boringly directed. I don't recall having any feeling during the movie that I was watching something groundbreaking, that they were doing anything new. I did like the scene where Janelle Monáe's heel got stuck in the grate, and I do want to know if that happened. That was one of the only times I felt like I was really, really having a real reaction or an emotion in the movie itself. I also wasn't totally sure that everyone was wearing appropriate undergarments for the period. I definitely saw Janelle Monáe wearing some kind of stiff shapewear, but I feel like that was it. And those appropriate undergarments are what really bring a period movie to life. Don't you forget. The scene where Taraji P. Henson is standing kind of at the edge of like an oval of white male NASA scientists, and they're all wearing their, uniform of a white shirt and, I don't know, darker slacks. And then she's wearing a teal suit, I think it was, or like a teal sweater. Could you tell she was the main character? It was kind of hard to tell. So why did she keep bringing the documents to the bathroom? I feel like she was worried that someone was going to tamper with them while she was away. But why did no one bring that up? Like, okay, you can leave them at your desk and then just come back to them. And one of the bigger mystifying elements of the movie for me was the fact that Kevin Costner's character wasn't even real. They just combined 3 of the male leaders at NASA from that time period into one character. And learning that definitely takes some of the emotion out of his character. I don't think that a movie that is based on true events needs to be a 1-for-1. I think a movie should be entertaining, and I think real life is usually kind of boring and not very cinematic. But he's the character they had hitting the women's restroom sign with the crowbar thing, or whatever that was. And I was really rolling my eyes during that entire scene. So everyone in the class went to that other building, right, where that bathroom was, to watch him hit that sign with a crowbar. I feel like he could have just made a call to someone at NASA and said, okay, let's remove this whole segregated bathroom thing. It's really removing all of the efficiency we have here. Because I feel like that's a more realistic motive for him to even do that. But then, of course, he has to say, like, we all piss the same color. Or what did he say? Here at NASA, we all pee the same color. He didn't swear. I don't know why I was making him swear in my memory. Was I the only one terrified of that transition the movie made between JFK speaking and the people sitting in that convertible? That scared me. Again, as an American, that frightened me a little bit. Also, Janelle Monáe, like the rest of the main cast, worked her ass off to get anyone to say, yes, you are in fact a human being, so that she could take those classes, and then, has to feel like it's a big win for her when the judge says, but only the night classes. Oh my God. It really reminds you of the fact that this stuff was so ingrained and is so ingrained in people. Like Hilly in The Help, when she says something like, we should be worried about the real racists out there. When she's the real racist, like she is actively the problem. And then when she attends the class and the instructor says that it wasn't designed for teaching a woman, like genitals are involved. Also, the actual orbiting scene, how did the fireball go out? Was it through the power of friendship? Also, can I be taught everything through movies? That would be ideal for me. And my biggest question, were the women really friends? Were they for real though? Because it's still unbelievable to me that how busy they were with their jobs and then having an entire family that they would even be able to hang out all the time. Or maybe I'm just jealous of their friend situation. Because it kind of reminds me of high school when you'd hang out in each other's kitchens instead of just like texting memes back and forth over and over again. And I didn't really know where to place this observation, but Kevin Costner's character is always eating something or fidgeting with something. Like he basically always needs a prop. It's either chewing gum or he's fiddling with an eyeglass case or he's just eating something in general. I like the realism of it because let's be real, a lot of movies don't feature people eating things, but in real life, we're all probably doing something annoying while we're talking to someone else. I did find it a little distracting, but I didn't entirely hate it. I will say that. So what did I think was memeable? That line where he says, if I said I was sorry, I'd be saying it all day. I wonder if that's just because he's a direct person. Maybe he just needed to be a little nicer when he was direct. And his call to action all the time, like, we're trying to bring someone back to Earth safely to see their family again, felt like a very non-individualistic way to approach work. Very team-oriented. I know compared to other countries like Japan, the US is extremely individualistic, but where you do sometimes see that show up is in companies where everyone's working towards the same goal. I did like when Taraji P. Henson's daughter told her that she'd been gone for 300 hours, because to a kid, 10 hours probably is 300 hours to them. Also, is it true that if you lived in a small town that was kind of walkable, like there was a small town area with shops and everything, kind of like Stars Hollow, that if something crazy happened on the news, people would be watching it through the appliance store display window, like on the TVs? I've seen that in so many movies, and just one day I want to experience that. There's a YouTube channel that had a video of people in, like, let's say a Best Buy watching the news about 9/11 happen in real time that morning. Really powerful. Really powerful. So what is my final verdict? I did like that the movie showed examples of the subtle racism present at the time. Just those microaggressions where, white people have fully accepted that Black and brown people are essentially inferior people. And then it also showed those bigger scenes, like in the library with that horrible woman telling her she had to go to the Black section of the library, which is truly, if I may use a word, fucked, but was a real reality. And I'm not going to do that thing where I say, I can't believe we treated people like that. Because we are like actively treating people like actual garbage today, right now. Just a thought. But my final verdict is that the movie was fine. It was safe. It was formulaic. It was a movie meant to show, an entertaining story of the empowerment of Black women. Except it made a lot of the stern white people seem caring. Because oh, wow. You think there are people who deserve opportunity and to support their family and to learn and grow? Wow. Oh my God, you deserve a medal. And yeah, I'm absolutely certain, and I know that white people faced consequences for being humane to Black and brown people then. Absolutely. But it, as a whole, just doesn't accomplish very much, and it just won't stay with me for very long. And because of that, I did feel it was a little weak. And it's frustrating to watch based on true events movies for so many reasons in general. Like, the real events, for me personally, always distract me because I'm sitting there thinking, oh my God, what actually did happen? If Kevin Costner wasn't even real and the bathroom plot wasn't true, why have him take it down at all? Why can't any of the three women be empowered to do that and then, I don't know, face some kind of consequences? It was a bit of an improvement from The Help, but I felt The Help was just more enjoyable overall. I'm only comparing them because they both have Octavia Spencer. They're both period movies. You get it. But Hidden Figures just wasn't as entertaining, and I'd like to see something else in the future tackle the story. But if I look on the bright side for a moment, I can definitely see a little kid or a little girl absolutely loving this movie, putting it on before they go to sleep every night, and having three really awesome women in history to look up to, because these women did exist and they did do incredible things. So in that case, I'm glad the movie exists. So that's it for Hidden Figures. I'm actually going to let you in on a little secret, and that's that I had to re-record this whole section of the podcast due to some hard drive issues with my computer. When I lay it all out as facts like that, with no emotion attached, it seems really boring, but it actually wasn't boring to me. So I'm looking forward to the movie about my hard drive issues. What's my mood? I'm kind of restless right now. I have that problem a lot of other people have due to capitalism. where I want to be producing at all times. Doesn't help that I'm an artist. There are a lot of things I could be producing, and I'm an artist with like just too many hobbies. Having to take the time away from the podcast before I could actually get myself to re-record it, just due to like busyness at work and life busyness and a little bit of stubbornness, thrown in, has made me very restless, and I just want to catch up on my podcast schedule. And I have some albums I need to cover, and I'm so behind on OCTAVIA SPENCER-UARY, I don't even know if I'm going to be able to finish it. So yeah, I'm sorry, OCTAVIA. I really blew it this time, okay? And you know what? I recorded this like right after my last episode. I was doing so well. The best laid plans. That is what I am saying, okay? So yes, restless, as Sally from Nightmare Before Christmas says, I'm restless. I can't help it. I just love that line. Oh, and my question for this episode. If you could have had any job at NASA, and let's just say they would have hired you, okay, at the time. If you could have had any job at NASA at the time, and you can make it up, it can be like rocket watcher, what would it have been? Let me know. I'm on Instagram as Movies, Music, and Moods, and I would absolutely love to hear from you. And I especially want to know what you're listening to, and what you're watching, and what your mood is, how you're feeling. So let me know. And as usual, I want to thank you for making it this far. I want to let you know that I appreciate you for listening. I really do. And we'll talk soon.